You can do it, I believe in you. Before you ever get to this point, please put your engine at top dead center. Got a hint in the last video, I am going to try and fix it. Fix it? Fix it. I'm gonna try and fix it. Let me show you something before we get to where the car is at this moment. One thing that's pretty deceiving is that this car showed no signs of a head gasket issue other than that the death rattle is associated with both the EGR and the head gasket. The EGR was definitely an issue, but obviously there was more things to come down the road. When I pulled the intake off the first time that I cleaned it, none of this was present. I would have noticed. But look in this little port right here. You see that milkshake? My milkshake brings all the boys to the... See that? As soon as I pulled it off this time, this is what I noticed. It kind of looks like chocolate milk. Even when I checked the oil and changed the oil last time, this wasn't there. If you even suspect something like a blown head gasket, just go through all the checks to really rule it out. So as soon as I saw signs of this, shut it down, didn't start it again, because you cannot compress a liquid. And what happens is you end up blowing your engine, bending a rod, something like that. So let me show you where I'm at. So I didn't show the whole steps here because you can go on YouTube and find a lot of videos that show you how to do up to this point, and probably way better of an explanation, way more intelligent than anything that I can give to you. I lifted it up, pulled the motor mount, because you have to take it off to get the timing chain cover off, which goes right here, which is over on the bench. There's like 900,000 bolts, I think, maybe 800,000, I can't remember exactly. The oil filter housing, once you get that, pop this thing off, then you have access to the timing chain guides. I just flopped this one here out of the way, don't need to take it off. This one on the right hand side has two 14mm bolts that you can just pull out, and it pops out, easily done. Oh, don't forget the timing chain tensioner, which is on the back side, back here, on the back of the block. It's pretty easily accessible. It is, this thing right here has two 10mm nuts that you just pull off. Here's the upper timing chain guide. There are three guides. Here's the other one, and the one, of course, I showed you flopped off. There's the timing chain, valve cover, timing chain cover, and all the bolts. I try to keep things together. Motor mount, oil filter housing, intake, throttle body, valve train parts, old water pump. I was getting a DTC code for the water pump, so I pulled it apart. I didn't see anything noticeable. There's no resistance that seems abnormal here. It feels completely normal. There could be something wrong internally, just don't know about. After I get that off, get the timing chain off, I left the cams exactly as they were. So here's the cam train. The head is actually split into two pieces. The only cam caps that I pulled off were these ones right here, the second set. And I just slipped in little folded up pieces of paper towel right there in the journal, just so the cam, they don't move. I need to wipe that down, I just touched it, but my hands have oil on it, so don't do that. So when I pull this out, these cams don't rotate and roll, so I don't have to worry too much about timing later on. Before you ever get to this point, please put your engine at top dead center. On the harmonic balancer, this is not a crank pulley because it doesn't actually pull anything, you're gonna see marks. This yellow mark in particular is going to line up with a 0 that you'll find on right here on the timing cover. And you can also tell potentially from looking down, and that number 1 is all the way at the top. If you've done this a million times, then maybe you don't need to worry about that, but I've just always done that. It's just habit at this point. Everything's pretty straightforward. All the harnesses kind of just are nicely loomed and wrapped so it can just flop out of the way and flop back into where it needs to go.
How did you say all that in one breath?
The only thing that might be a little bit difficult to find for you is the triple square bit set, and you need these to take out the head bolts. So this is what I got. I got it at O'Reilly's. You need the M12. Some people call these double hex, so I guess it just depends on who you talk to. I'm going to fight with the EGR, pull it out, and then get to the head bolts, and then we'll see each other in just a bit. All right, come on, come on. You can do it, I believe in you. Drop the gasket. All right. So now, the remaining coolant lines going into the head. There's one. All right. Then the fuel line. I'm going to leave the injectors and the fuel rail on it and just undo the fuel line from back here. There we go. Fuel line is unhooked. Time to break free the head bolts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 10. So I'm gonna start on one of the ends. I'm gonna go in the top left, crack it free, loosen it up, just break it free, move down, outside, kind of like you're spiraling in towards the center. And then I'm gonna do that 3 times, which is sort of typical, until I get to, well, the end. We're loose minus that. Oh, look at that. Number 1, you see how number 1 is clean and all the others aren't? Number 1 is where the cylinder was getting coolant. All right, we'll put a straight edge on it, see what it looks like. Scrape anything off, and then we're gonna check to see if the head has any warp. So that should be clean enough to see if we got anything going on. I mean, I don't notice anything obvious. These go on only one way, and it should be very obvious. So, you know, is this right? No. Yes. It is. Let's see if we can do this. Just be careful of what you're doing. You should be able to get this down on the dowel pretty easy. Okay, cleaned off the head, and right up here where the timing cover is going to be, I'm going to clean off the timing cover too. But first, before I even do that, I'm going to put the head bolts back in and start the sequence of torquing them down. It's been a process. Fingers crossed, toes crossed, eyes crossed. Hopefully have this thing back up and driving and fixed. Still got some testing to do, but it's looking a lot more promising than it has since this whole thing started. Minus just maybe some air that's in the coolant system somewhere, which is causing some spiking in the temperature and then coming back down. I think we're fixed. It's been a long journey for this car. And I'm sorry that I didn't show everything, but hoping that it's fixed. Let's see. I think it's fixed. Ooh.